Gemini, don't be afraid. Spiders in your house will be a sign. Before you let fear guide your reaction, take a slow breath with me. The sudden appearance of spiders in your home isn't random, nor is it something to sweep away in haste. It's a whisper from the universe, arriving in the form of delicate legs and silken threads, a message woven just for you. If you've been encountering these 8-legged beings more than usual, especially in unexpected places, this is no accident. There is a reason, and it's one that may shift your entire reality, if you dare to listen. This message isn't rooted in superstition or fear. It's a call to awareness. The spiders are not here to disturb your peace, but to awaken something vital within you, a truth that's been stirring deep beneath your surface. Your mind, Gemini, is constantly weaving thoughts, stories, meanings, identities. But now the universe is asking, are you the weaver, or are you caught in a web that no longer belongs to you? This video will take you on a journey, a psychological and spiritual unraveling of what the spider truly means for you. So stay with me. Let's open this thread together. Not to trap, but to liberate. If this already speaks to something deep in your soul, take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Someone else may need this message too. The web is wider than we think. Gate 1. The web you didn't know you were caught in. Gemini. You are the sign of duality, of mental brilliance, of constant motion between curiosity and creation. You live in a world of thought, threading ideas like stars across a sky no one else can read. But what happens when the very intelligence that frees you also entangles you? This is the moment the spiders arrive. The spider is not here to frighten you. It's here to hold up a mirror, and what it reflects may be the most important truth you've avoided seeing. Somewhere along your path, you began weaving your life around expectations that weren't yours. The web you now find yourself in wasn't consciously chosen. It was inherited, suggested, imposed, or silently absorbed. Perhaps you became the adaptable one in every room, shifting your tone, your pace, your truth to suit others. Maybe you said yes to too many things that felt wrong, but you rationalized them away with charm and intellect. You've been building connections, but some of them have turned into traps. Responsibilities that don't belong to you. Relationships that don't reflect your real essence. Careers or dreams that no longer speak to your heart. The spiders are appearing now to show you this invisible architecture, not to scold you, but to reveal that you're ready. You are finally ready to see the strands you've entangled yourself in, and even more importantly, you're ready to begin dismantling them with intention. Think of the last time you saw a spider. Where was it? What were you thinking right before you saw it? What emotion was moving through you? The synchronicity matters. Spiders show up when your inner self is preparing for radical realignment. You're being called back to center, and it's not subtle anymore. This moment mirrors a phase in the life of someone I once worked with, a woman named Elena, a Gemini with sparkling intellect and endless social orbit. She had spent years building a seemingly perfect web. Thriving career, social acclaim, a home full of beautiful things. But one day she began noticing spiders, not just one or two, but frequent appearances in unusual places, in her coffee cup, on her journal, by her bed. At first, she tried to ignore it, even joked about it. But something inside her stirred. When she finally sat down with the discomfort and let herself ask the deeper questions, she unraveled the truth she had buried. She was exhausted from performing a life that looked perfect but didn't feel authentic. She wasn't living her story. She was living someone else's version of what her life should be. The spiders, it turned out, weren't pests. They were messengers. Elena left a high-paying but soul-numbing position, started writing again, and redefined her relationships based on truth, not obligation. It wasn't easy, but it was honest. The spiders stopped appearing when she began weaving her life consciously again, from the inside out. Gemini, you are now at a similar threshold. You've been maintaining a web for too long that no longer supports your spirit. The appearance of spiders marks a turning point, a signal that your energy is too precious to keep stretching in directions that drain you. And here's something you may not have realized. Your natural adaptability, while a gift, can become a silent trap. You're so good at seeing all sides, at mediating between extremes, at making everyone else feel seen and heard, that you forget to claim space for your own voice. The spiders are asking, When was the last time you listened deeply to yourself? This is not about making dramatic changes overnight. Spiders don't destroy their web in chaos. They unravel with precision. They sense when a strand no longer holds and gently rebuild. You are being called to the same approach. Look at the systems, routines, and relationships in your life that feel sticky, where you feel drained, confused, or disconnected. These are the threads ready to be released. Let go of what was built from fear of rejection, or from the pressure to be the smart one, the strong one, the adaptable one. You don't need to wear masks anymore. The world needs your true voice, your unfiltered clarity, your playful insights, your multidimensional brilliance. But first, you must reclaim the inner silence needed to hear yourself again. The spider is a master architect. It doesn't rush. It doesn't people please. It weaves deliberately, anchoring each thread with purpose. What would your life look like if you rebuilt it that way? If each decision, each commitment, was made with full presence? If the spiders are in your home, it means you are being visited by one of the most sacred archetypes in spiritual tradition, the cosmic weaver. This is no small thing. It means you are capable of reimagining your entire life from a place of inner alignment, but only if you stop numbing, distracting, and avoiding. Gemini, your mind is powerful, but now it's your intuition that must lead. Listen to the silence between thoughts. Observe your reactions. Watch what frustrates or bores you. These are clues. The old web doesn't need patching. It needs to be rewoven entirely by your own hand, in your own rhythm. You are not broken. You are being invited to evolve. And as you do, your entire vibration will change. People around you may not understand, so may pull away. That's okay. Not everyone is meant to stay in your newly built web. You are not here to maintain a structure that traps you. You are here to create one that liberates you. Spiders bring the medicine of boundaries, of artistry, of knowing when to hold and when to release. You are being asked to begin again, not as punishment, but as a sacred initiation into conscious creation. Are you ready to become the weaver, Gemini? Gate 2. When the universe sends a symbol, listen twice. Gemini, now that you've begun recognizing the invisible threads you've been caught in, the question becomes, why now? Why this moment, this season, this home? Why are the spiders choosing to appear now? And to you, the universe never sends symbols without significance. And when a symbol repeats again and again, it's not merely calling for attention. It's initiating transformation. Spiders are not just sacred because of their form or their fragility. They are sacred because they speak in the language of pattern. And Gemini, you too live in patterns. Thoughts that loop, choices that repeat, relationships that mirror, stories that cycle. But lately, those patterns have become uncomfortable, haven't they? Maybe you've noticed your usual distractions no longer soothe. Maybe the restlessness, once charming, now feels like a sign of something deeper unraveling within. This is a sacred tension between the old self and the emerging one. The spider arrives precisely at this threshold, when you are still inhabiting a reality that no longer fits, but not yet sure how to build the next. You may feel stuck, irritable, emotionally raw, or unmotivated in ways that defy logic. But that's because this isn't logical. It's so deep. There's a truth about symbols that modern life has forgotten. They are not meant to be interpreted through intellect alone. They are meant to be embodied. A spider crawling across your desk isn't just a spider. It's a visitation, a conversation, a call inward. I once worked with a Gemini client named Max, a vibrant young man whose mind ran faster than his breath. He worked in branding, knew how to sell ideas, shape stories, charm rooms. But lately, he felt blank. His ideas felt recycled. His relationships became transactional. He told me, I feel like I'm saying words, but no longer speaking. That same week, spiders began appearing on his keyboard, in his parked car, even on a shelf in his shower. At first, he shrugged it off, but the sightings continued. When he began to explore the symbolism with openness, something cracked open. He realized he had become a curator of other people's ideas, other people's narratives. He had built his success on being quick, adaptable, and clever, but he lost his own voice, his own rhythm. Spiders reminded him that creativity requires space. That originality doesn't arise from pressure. It arises from presence. Max ended up taking a 3-month sabbatical, returning to painting, something he hadn't done since childhood. He restructured his life, not for productivity, but for presence. The spiders stopped visiting him soon after. Gemini, this might be where you are too. The universe is asking you to slow down, not in movement, but in meaning. You don't need more to do. You need more truth behind what you do. The spiders are pointing to that inner web, the one that feels tangled, abandoned, or artificial. You're being asked to return to it, to touch it, to understand it, not with fear, but with reverence. Here's something else the spiders are trying to show you: the power of sacred timing. Watch a spider build its web. It does not rush. It does not multitask. It anchors first. Then it spirals out, thread by thread. What would change if you lived like that? If you allowed each new phase of your life to be built from true anchoring instead of fear-driven motion? You've always been fast, Gemini. But fast is not the same as aligned. The spiders are teaching you discernment, that it's not about how many ideas you have, but which ones are rooted in your soul. That you don't have to be everything to everyone, everywhere. You just have to be true. It's likely that during this phase, you'll begin feeling called to simplify, to let go of tasks, roles, or even people that used to excite you, but now feel energetically noisy. Honor that. It doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're refining, shedding what was built from your mind, to make space for what your spirit is finally ready to shape. And yes, this may come with discomfort. Others may not understand why you're pulling back, saying no, changing directions. That's okay. Spiders don't consult the world before spinning their web. They follow inner design. So must you. The symbol of the spider also carries another profound truth: interconnection. A spider's web is not random. It is intentional. Each point of contact connects to another. Similarly, your life is not a series of separate events. Everything is connected. Your thoughts, your emotions, your physical health, your relationships, your career, your space. And if one thread is weakened, perhaps through self-abandonment, denial, or exhaustion, the whole web begins to tremble. This is why spiders have come now, because you've reached a level of self-awareness where you can no longer ignore what's trembling. The parts of your life that no longer feel stable, nourishing, or aligned are not just inconveniences. They are signals. And the spiders are helping amplify those signals with gentleness. Pay attention to how your body responds in different spaces, to who energizes you and who depletes you, to where your mind spirals and where it feels still. These are your new compasses. There may also be dreams. Vivid, strange dreams with symbols, animals, old friends, or deep places. That's the subconscious weaving too. Try to reconnect you with truths your waking mind may have dismissed. Keep a journal. Write without editing. Let the inner voice emerge. Some Gemini souls resist this part of the journey. It's easier to stay in motion, to joke, to intellectualize. But the spiders want you to sit still enough to hear yourself again, and to trust what you hear. The next time you see one, don't just look. Observe. Don't just react. Receive. Where is it? What is it doing? What were you doing or thinking before it appeared? What does it make you feel? And what memory or thought does that feeling awaken? That is the true language of symbols. Not fixed definitions, but personal resonance. A spider appearing near your bed might point to intimacy, vulnerability, or rest. Near your front door, transitions, boundaries, or invitations. Near your work, shifts in purpose, power, or visibility. And don't be afraid if one appears and then disappears. That's part of the message too. That some things only come to awaken you and then leave. The goal is not to cling. The goal is to notice, to honor, and to integrate. Gemini, the web you are meant to build next is not just a better version of your current life. It is a life that vibrates in alignment with your truest essence. And that will require letting go of many clever, polished, comfortable things that no longer feel alive. But here's the promise the spider makes. When you weave from truth, everything that's meant for you will stick to the web effortlessly. Not because you chased it, but because you built something real. You are not just being visited by symbols. You are being chosen, as a conscious creator, and the time to listen has arrived. Gate 3, the courage to dismantle what is familiar. Gemini, one of your greatest gifts is your mind's ability to adapt, to see possibilities, to find lightness even in darkness. But now, something deeper is being asked of you. Not a new idea, not a different angle, but a release, a dismantling, a shedding of the very things you once believed defined you. And that, dear Gemini, is where true courage lives. Not in beginning something new, but in letting go of something old that once felt essential. The spiders you've been seeing are not simply here to point out patterns. They are here to walk you through the sacred act of unraveling, of choosing, consciously, to no longer maintain what drains your light. There's a subtle danger in being clever, in being socially fluent, in being able to explain, analyze, and charm your way through life. That danger is self-erasure. You become so good at navigating others' expectations that your own truth starts to whisper instead of sing. You forget what you actually want, what actually hurts, what actually excites your spirit. And then the spiders arrive, not to accuse, but to awaken. They remind you that all structures must be revisited, that the web must be checked for wear, that even the most beautiful constructions must be torn down if they no longer serve their original purpose. Have you noticed how hard it is to say no lately? How saying I'm tired, or this doesn't feel right anymore, or I need to choose differently feels like a betrayal, even when it's the truth. This is the edge you're standing on now, the line between the self you've outgrown and the self who is emerging. Gemini, the universe is not asking you to change for the sake of change. It's asking you to return to your essence, to the you before the noise, to the you before you were praised for being so easy to be around, before you learned that keeping the peace was more acceptable than expressing the storm. And this is where the discomfort comes in, because the old version of you was beloved in many spaces. You were the flexible friend, the understanding partner, the non-threatening colleague. You shaped yourself so beautifully to others' needs that you became indispensable, but not fully seen. The spiders are not showing up to ruin that comfort. They're here because you are ready to no longer settle for a surface-level connection. You are ready for depth, and depth requires dissonance. Not all truths are pretty. Not all shifts are smooth, but all healing begins with truth. I once guided a Gemini woman named Layla through a very similar journey. She was a mother of 3, a brilliant creative, and someone everyone called the glue of their community. But in her quiet hours, she felt hollow. Her art sat untouched. Her marriage had grown distant. She spent her days solving other people's problems and avoiding her own. When spiders began showing up, on her easel, inside folded laundry, even in the pages of her old journals, she felt both spooked and intrigued. When we explored their symbolism, she broke down. She whispered, "I don't know who I am anymore without the roles I play." And that was the beginning. The spiders had come not to haunt her, but to remind her the web of motherhood, of community, of caretaking, though beautiful, was strangling her spirit because she no longer had room to breathe within it. Layla didn't burn her life down overnight, but she began speaking up. She created non-negotiable time for herself. She started painting again. She told the truth about her loneliness to her partner. She made her needs known. And something miraculous happened. The world around her adjusted. Those who loved her rose to meet her truth. You see, Gemini, dismantling the familiar doesn't always lead to chaos. Sometimes it leads to co-creation, but that requires the courage to disappoint others, to stop managing how you're perceived, to trust that your authenticity is more valuable than your likability. The spiders have appeared because you're being called to a deeper level of self-loyalty. And this phase is not about action first. It's about awareness. It's about walking through your life room by room, thought by thought, and asking, does this still resonate with who I'm becoming? If the answer is no, you don't have to burn it down, but you must stop pretending. Gemini, you may feel moments of grief in this process. Grief for the version of you who tried so hard, who made it all work, who built webs that held others when no one held her. Honor that part of you. She was necessary. She was brilliant, but she isn't all of you, and she doesn't need to drive anymore. The spiders remind us, nothing truly alive is static. Life is movement, evolution, coiling and uncoiling. You are allowed to change, even if it's messy, even if it means starting again. This dismantling is not destruction, it's preparation for a new web, one that you will weave with more intentionality, more color, more wildness, and more rest. In this liminal space, don't be surprised if people begin reacting differently to you. Some will sense your shift and step back. Others will lean in. Let them. Let the web rearrange itself organically. Not everyone belongs in your next version, and that's not rejection. That's resonance. Pay attention to where your energy spikes and where it collapses. That's your inner compass recalibrating. Trust it, and don't rush. Spiders don't spin under pressure. They wait for the right time, the right temperature, the right vibration. This phase is about noticing, not forcing. Gemini, what would happen if you truly trusted that your soul knows the next step? Even if your mind doesn't? What would happen if you stopped performing and started feeling? What would it mean to let your sensitivity lead for once? This is the gateway. The spider is not simply a sign. It is a sacred mirror. And the truth it reflects is this. Your current life has expired in ways your heart already knows, but your habits haven't yet acknowledged. The courage to dismantle is not about rebellion. It's about liberation. Let it begin. The threads are loosening, and in their place, something astonishing is waiting to be woven. Gate 4, becoming the weaver. Slow, sacred, selective. Gemini, now that you've stepped into the truth of what no longer serves you, a beautiful and sacred opportunity unfolds before you. The chance to become the weaver of your own reality. Not the quick-fix thinker, not the charming adapter, not the energetic multitasker, but the intentional artist of your life. This is where the spider becomes more than a symbol. It becomes a teacher. Watch how it creates. One thread at a time with total presence, with a sense of the whole design before even the first line is laid. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is rushed. Everything is in relationship with everything else. And now, Gemini, it's time to rebuild your web in that same spirit. It begins with shift in awareness, from scattered doing to sacred choosing. You are no longer in the phase of reacting to life. You are stepping into the role of architect, and this requires something that may feel foreign at first. Stillness. The Gemini mind is always on the move, but your soul is craving a deeper rhythm, one that doesn't skip from idea to idea, but anchors into what truly resonates. This is a moment for you to pause and ask, what are the core threads I want to build my life around? Not what others expect from me, not what used to work, but what feels undeniably true now. Start with just 3. Choose 3 values or energies that will define your new reality. Perhaps it's creativity, freedom, authenticity, or peace, intimacy, integrity. There is no right answer. Only what rings true in your chest, not just your mind. Once you've identified these, hold them close. Every new decision you make, from what you say yes to who you spend time with, to how you structure your days, must be filtered through these anchors. This is how spiders build. They don't spin toward everything. They choose connection points with intention. You must too. You'll find that this kind of living requires deep honesty. Not everyone will fit into your new web. Some may resist your shift. Some may try to pull you back into old patterns, into being the fun one, the easy one, the one who never says no. But you're not here to entertain anymore. You're here to evolve. There's also something else happening beneath the surface. As you begin to weave more consciously, you may encounter old doubts, voices that say, who do you think you are to choose this? What if people leave you? What if your life gets smaller? Gemini, these are not prophecies. They are echoes from your past selves, parts of you who were taught that survival meant pleasing, performing, or staying light. But now you are choosing depth, and depth sometimes comes with solitude. Not loneliness, solitude, the rich, sacred space where your real voice emerges. And what happens when you stay in that space long enough to hear your truth? You begin to weave not just a web, but a sanctuary, a life that reflects your spirit instead of your social strategy. One Gemini I work with, a musician named Rafi, came to this exact crossroad. He had built his life around collaboration, gigs, travel, and constant movement. But a strange fatigue set in. He wasn't inspired anymore. That's when the spider started showing up backstage in his guitar case, even inside a pocket of a jacket he hadn't worn in months. It unnerved him at first, but when he paused and leaned into their message, he realized he had never actually asked himself what he wanted to say through his music. He had been echoing others, imitating styles, creating for applause instead of authenticity. The spiders reminded him that true creation doesn't come from noise. It comes from stillness. He began taking long breaks in silence, journaling, walking without headphones, playing music with no intention of sharing it. What emerged was a new sound, one so raw and honest that even he was surprised. His next album wasn't the most commercially successful, but it was the most healing for himself and his listeners. And the spiders? They disappeared shortly after the project was completed. This is what awaits you too, Gemini. Not just success, but soul alignment. A life where what you create, relationships, projects, daily rituals, doesn't just work. It reflects who you truly are. And don't worry if the process feels slow. That's the medicine. Slowness is not failure. It's intimacy with yourself. Spiders teach that. They pause between threads. They sense vibration before they move. You must learn to do the same. To feel your way forward. To wait until it's a true yes. You don't need a 5-year plan right now. You need sacred alignment. You need to wake up each morning and ask, what wants to move through me today? And then trust the answer, even if it's subtle, even if it's inconvenient, even if it means saying no to things that look good on paper. Gemini, you are learning the art of sacred selectivity, of putting down threads that were too loose, too tight, or never yours to begin with. And in their place, you are choosing beauty, not as decoration, but as a guiding principle. Spiders do not build ugly things. They weave for both function and elegance. You must too. Don't settle for a life that merely works. Create one that nourishes, inspires, and mirrors your truest vibration. This phase may also call for a cleansing of your physical space. The home, the room, the desk, the digital clutter. You are creating new energetic structures. Your outer world must reflect your inner clarity. Remove what distracts. Beautify what remains. This is not superficial. It is spiritual. A sacred act of honoring yourself. Every thread matters. Every choice. Every pause. You are no longer spinning for survival. You are weaving from consciousness. And the web that is emerging will not trap you. It will support you, reflect you, and call in everything that is meant for your growth. Gemini, the spider has not come to terrify you. It has come to awaken you to your creative power. You are not small. You are not broken. You are not late. You are becoming precise, devotional, aligned. So spin with intention, speak with integrity, rest with no guilt, build with beauty. You are no longer reacting. You are designing. And everything is about to change. Gate 5, the new web you're meant to live in. Gemini, the web is almost complete. You've unraveled what no longer serves you. You've sat with discomfort, with grief, with truths that were long buried beneath busyness and charm. You've begun weaving again, slower, softer, wiser. And now, something magnificent emerges. The life that is finally yours. Not borrowed, not curated, not assembled from bits of approval and expectation. Yours. But here's where many souls falter. After all the inner work, after the healing and realignment, there's still one final gate, embodiment. You must live the web you've designed. This is not always easy. Your mind may try to revert, pulling you back into performance. The world may tempt you to return to roles you've outgrown. People may not know how to interact with this new version of you. This version who sets boundaries, who pauses before saying yes, who no longer entertains the small talk of a life unlived. But the spider's wisdom is clear. Once the web is woven, it does not question itself. It waits. It trusts. It holds space for what is meant to arrive. Gemini, you are now being asked to hold space of the life that's been waiting to meet the real you. This means choosing differently, even when it's subtle. Saying no to conversations that feel energetically cheap. saying yes to solitude when your system is calling for quiet, declining invitations that require you to abandon your center, reaching out when your spirit wants connection, even if your pride hesitates. This new web you're building is sacred, and sacred things require reverence. They are not rushed. They are not negotiated. They are honored with consistency, protection, and presence. At this stage, the spiders may begin to disappear from your physical space. That is a sign, not of loss, but of integration. They no longer need to appear externally, because you've begun to embody their medicine. But if they do still visit, notice what phase you're in when they show up. Sometimes they'll return during new thresholds, as gentle reminders, as energetic check-ins, as loving nudges back to center. One Gemini soul I work with, a writer named Arya, found herself in this exact phase after months of recalibrating her life, stepping away from social distractions, writing for truth instead of applause, and letting go of a partner who couldn't meet her emotionally. She finally felt aligned. But then came doubt, not dramatic, but quiet, like a fog. Am I allowed to live this freely? Do I need to earn joy again? Is this too good? And then one morning, a single spider descended from the ceiling as she journaled. It landed gently on her open page, right where she had written, "Maybe I don't need to explain this to anyone." She cried, not out of fear, but because she understood. The spider wasn't warning her, it was affirming her. Gemini, this is the new way you must learn to read signs, not through fear, but through presence. The signs are not punishments. They are mirrors. They reflect your readiness. You are now being shown how powerful you truly are, not in your ability to impress, but in your ability to align. And alignment is subtle. It often won't look impressive from the outside. It may look like slower mornings, less talking, more intentional space between you and others. It may look like reading alone on a Friday night, or saying no to a collaboration that once felt thrilling, but now feels like noise. This is not regression. This is sacred maturity. And Gemini, it is breathtaking on you. From this place, you will attract differently. Relationships will feel quieter, but deeper. Opportunities will appear that reflect your real essence, not the projection. You will find yourself magnetizing situations that feel like home, not because you tried, but because you stopped pretending. You may notice that people begin asking you different questions. Instead of, "How are you so good at everything?" they'll ask, "How do you feel so grounded? What changed? Why do I feel calmer when I'm around you?" These are signs your frequency has shifted. You are no longer scattering your brilliance in 1,000 directions, hoping someone catches the light. You are standing in one place, fully lit, and those who are meant to witness your glow will find you, not because you chased, but because you radiated. This final gate is not about doing more. It's about becoming more of who you already are. And yes, there will still be tests. There always are. Old energies will knock. Old patterns will whisper. That's not failure. It's just the universe asking, "Are you sure?" Not to trick you, but to solidify your commitment. Every time you choose alignment over habit, presence over performance, clarity over chaos, you reinforce the web. You strengthen the signal. You live the spell. Because that's what this really is. Gemini, a spell you're weaving. A spell of self-loyalty, of creative devotion, of divine timing. And now, you must trust that the web will hold. The web is not fragile. It is precise. It was not spun overnight. It is not meant to catch everything. It is meant to hold only what nourishes you. And what it holds will be beautiful, because you built it that way. Gemini, do you feel it? You are no longer the one caught in the web. You are the weaver. You always have been. Now, you simply remember. Conclusion, the awakening within the web. Gemini, if you've made it here, truly here, then something inside you has already shifted. You're no longer just a curious mind seeking signs. You are the one who now understands them. The spiders were never random, never invasive. They were messengers of your own becoming. They arrived to say what words couldn't, to point toward a web you didn't even know you had the power to undo and rebuild. What you just walked through is more than a symbolic reflection. It's an energetic initiation. You've looked at the invisible structures of your life with honesty. You've acknowledged the weight of expectations. You've begun to choose clarity over convenience. And now, the real magic begins, living it, not as a perfect version of yourself, not as someone who has all the answers, but as someone who finally listens to your body, your boundaries, your spirit. That is what it means to become the weaver. You no longer spin from fear. You create from truth. There may still be echoes of the old patterns. You may find yourself caught now and then, but now you'll notice. You'll pause. You'll realign. And that is everything. The next time a spider crosses your path, smile. Thank it. Ask yourself what you've been weaving lately and whether it reflects who you are now, not who you used to be. You have the courage to dismantle. You have the wisdom to rebuild. And you have the grace to do it beautifully. If this message touched something within you, share it. Leave a comment below and let others know they're not alone. We are all learning to live more consciously, more tenderly, more truly. And you, dear Gemini, are further along than you think. You're no longer caught in the web. You are home in it, and the universe smiles with you.